All right, welcome everybody to the Star City Blood Bowl League Round 7 update. We're going into the last week. I got Dave Brader here, coach of the MASH, with me for a special update where we're going to talk a little bit about the MASH's experience this season, what it's like coaching LaClaws, and also look ahead at the playoffs. Where we'll get to watch the MASH take on a number of dwarves and maybe some dark elves on their way to a championship. So, kind of without going into that too much, I think what would be best is we just go ahead and talk a little bit about the MASH and the season they've had. Right now, the MASH are the league leading team right now with 6 wins and a draw through their 7 matches played. They've had plus 11 net casualties and plus 11 net touchdowns and plus 4 net casualties. So I guess, Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit, what the season was like for you, um, you know, coaching the MASH and having a tough dwarf division, what that was like.
Um, yeah, it's been a lot of just let LaClaus do his thing. No, seriously. Honestly, it has been a lot of every game is the same for a team like Necro. You basically just want to try to come out healthy. I know with Regen, everybody thinks they're really durable, but every player is expensive, as I was shown in last game, right when when I had a Wraith die, and that's 135,000 right there. So most of the time, it's stay alive and try to pick your spots. This season has been tough, right? Lots of dwarves, lots of bash. Really been no game off. Uh, One of the things that I have enjoyed about this team is that it lines up a little bit better with like my play style. I'm not a very good coach. I haven't been coaching very long, playing very long, but it plays well to the fact that I still think of it as regular football. So with the Wolves, I've got speed enough that I feel like I can play like that. If I find an opening, I can be gone down the sideline, and it gives me a chance to make up for mistakes. So, but I will tell you this: I'm very scared about this next game. Uh, all season long, Mark has been talking about how he's going to kill both wolves, and so I might have a trick or two up my sleeve going into this last game. But yeah, my goal is to get out of this game healthy
Yep.
and ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, and I guess one of the things that was always interesting to me, watching the season go on, watching your team, was that you didn't always run two ghouls. Actually, you only ran two ghouls for like one game,
Yep.
I think. And I look at this team and I don't see a lot of ball handlers. And I think at one point you may have just had LaClaus and
My goal.
Evgeny Stalkin, and the one ghoul was the only options to carry the ball. So I know when we played, my goal was to try and remove those players from the field so that
Yep.
your best ball handling ability would be a 4+ pickup, which would kind of, I guess, hurt that plan. But all the stand firm, the race doing the foul appearance, the
Hmm.
sidestep, had the guard at the time. I don't remember that race name, but
Yeah. I can't remember it either. He did so fast.
I can't remember his name, but I'm sure he was a real pain when he was on the field. And so I guess I'm just curious, what you do you have any kind of plan for handling the amount of guard and things that you're kind of outnumbered in a little bit at this point with the dwarves? I mean, you got the strength 4 guys, which is going to be great, and the fact they both have guard. If they stay close together, they'll be tough to knock down. But are you planning to play more of like a runaway game? I guess it's hard to do to a point.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like in this one, he's got so much guard as well, right?
Right.
So he's gonna be able to match me on strength a good bit. So I feel like I'm really gonna have to just try to play that distance game, almost pretend like I'm elves a bit. I can't dodge out of the way, but make him come to me and try to pick my spots. And then on offense, yeah, definitely just try to run away if I can. See how I can maybe get him to thin out. One hope is that a couple good dice rolls early if I'm lucky, even the numbers, and I think as we all know, I think that the Wolves will have a different job this game. And instead of either being ball carrier or distraction, they're going to have to do some work. They're going to have to get in and take out some high armor players, or else I'm going to have a really long game.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody's watching Thorgrim Trollbane with the Iron City Grudge Bears, which is currently
Yeah, he's
leading
a
the lead
monster.
in casualties with 7. I think he's got, I don't
Yeah.
know, 2 or 3 more than the next person.
Yeah, that's the other part of my plan. I'm going to switch Mark's dice out
Yeah,
before the game. So
make him share his dwarf dice.
there you go.
That's
Yeah.
what I do.
Yeah, no, that guy's a monster, and so obviously, yeah, I've got to be aware of where he is on the field, right, and stay away
Yeah,
from both of them. Or if I'm lucky, they don't have sidestep. Maybe try to lead him a little bit with a little bit of a frenzy trap. But Mark's an awesome player, so I doubt he's going to fall for it.
yeah, yeah. And Thorgrim just picked up Stand Firm, so that's gonna,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I don't think you have any Juggernaut at this
I
point.
don't,
So
I don't.
being able to surf him back isn't really going to be a
No,
potential. So he's going to get a little more dangerous along the sidelines because he doesn't have to worry about getting surfed out on his own
exactly.
right after that.
Yeah. But you're right. You mentioned earlier too about really what I found was I tended to use, so, and this is my own personal dice rolling experience. I tended to find that Laclau's ended up with the ball once, especially once he got agility too. He's just more reliable picking up the ball. Even I can't tell you how many times I failed a 3+3+ pickup with sure hands with a
Right.
ghoul. So between the two of them, I had enough people to carry the ball. As you saw, I tend to be real conservative with them anyway. They tend to stay in the backfield and kind of do their thing. So that's why it didn't hurt me that much.
Hmm.
What hurt me really over the course of the season was, or what's tough about this team in terms of slow development is flesh golems take so long to develop. Zombies
Yeah.
almost never develop. So you end up with 4 or 5 players that end up with a lot of with most of your skills, right? When you look at Mark's lineup,
Yeah.
everybody's got skills. So
Well, and that's usually what I've seen, playing Necro is as long as your positionals stay healthy, they stay on the field, you got a good chance. It doesn't really matter if you lose a couple zombies,
right,
as long as you don't start losing flesh golems and ghouls and
exactly.
wraiths and stuff like that. That's when stuff starts to kind of fall apart a little bit. And so I'm sure I'm going to be interested to see, how the claws not look claws, but the claws
Yeah,
skill of your werewolves maybe affects how Mark plays. I don't know if he'll put his higher value players out there as well, because if you could just claw him and hurt him,
yeah.
he doesn't want to be hurt going into playoffs either.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we might find it's a slap fest, hopefully, which would actually suit me well because I think his team has more balanced, right? So clearly he wins that game of attrition now or in the playoffs if he hurts me versus me hurting him. But I think at this point, yeah, everybody, with the exception of the guys that are really still fighting for playoff spots, I think all teams are just hoping to stay healthy.
Yep, sounds good. All right. Well, you heard from the MASH coach Dave there. Do you have anything else to say?
Now I'm just waiting to hear the rest of your announcements
Analysis
here.
here.
Yeah, I will say that everybody has been impressed by your uncanny ability to predict outcomes.
Oh, it's kind of a guess to an extent. Well, I mean, especially in this lower division, there's so many coaches I've never even seen them play, let alone, I don't know what their real I don't want to say what their real abilities are, but where they are in the experience. So
Right.
it's hard to say like if I've obviously played Travis a number of times, and I've played Bob.
Hmm.
I've played Alex a few times, but never as goblins. And so it's hard to judge Alex's ability with goblins because the only time I've ever played him was with Tomb Kings.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty hard to predict those, much more so than I think the ones up here where I've at least faced these people before,
Hmm.
or know enough about them to know, how they'll play. I think um, the only person that I don't think I've seen everybody up here play it to some degree or played against them in either the sevens or
Hmm.
regular Blood Bowl. Like I said, down here, I've never played Gerald, never played Rachel, Ed, Jake. I've watched Caleb. Oh no, me and Caleb have played before. Me and Travis have played. Never played Daniel. So it's a little bit more of a guessing game, and I'm more or less just trying to guess based on their past performances of what those games have been. So right now, looking at I guess the playoff standings, we have 3 teams in Division A that have locked a playoff spot due to the tiebreakers, which is the Mash, your team, my team, the Sinister Storm, the Dark Elves, and then the Dwarf Iron City Grudge Bears. So there's the thing that I think that's up in the air is who's going to be seeds 2, 3, and 4 at this point within our group.
Yep.
There is a potential for even the Hashut's Chosen um, to make it in. I have not checked the Valor Valkyries, but maybe that's something
I
we should check as well. If
Yeah,
they get a
I
five
think they
point win,
lost to both Mike and Fluff, but yeah, we should. It's probably worth checking
I
out.
don't know. Yeah, I mean they may be first out right here. But obviously, at this point, regardless of the next games, the Silver Strikers, Royal Family, Bullfrogs, and the Packers are going to have to wait until the next season to try and get into the playoffs or participate in. You have
Yeah,
an event coming up too, right?
yeah. So, and that was. I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things that I definitely wanted to give a shout out to is, uh, everybody I've played now. I've only played Division Group A, but everybody I've played has been really awesome as far as sportsmanship, even when dice is not going our way. And let's be fair, a lot of times skill is part of it, but a lot of it too. You have a bad dice game, and your life is miserable, and everybody's been really cool about that. So, one of the things that I wanted to do is kind of see everybody have a chance to have some kind of after season fun.
Yep.
So definitely wanted to have kind of the best of the rest, which is whoever's interested and wants to let me know after the season's over, we'll get a tournament together. We'll do it as a one-day event, single elimination at Mishap Games, but we'll try to see who can come out the top. And yeah, there'll even be a wooden spoon award in there for the person who ends up losing that as well. But again, really hope everybody sticks with it because it's great having this many players. I mean, as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, it's great having this many teams, and I hope to see everybody come back next season as well.
Yeah, I was honestly a little surprised. I'll be honest. I didn't have a lot of faith in trying to get 20 coaches to actually stick it out for really 16 weeks
Hmm.
plus, you know what I mean, throughout, because that is a long commitment. And I feel like at some point we started twisting people's arm a little bit more to get them to play and kind of
Yep.
like peer pressuring them more. So it was maybe something that they wouldn't have initially wanted to do.
Right.
And so those folks, you know who you are at the end of the day, the people who are the last to join to help us even up numbers or get to 20 coaches or whatever.
Hmm.
I really appreciate everybody sticking out all 8 games and not dropping mid-season or anything like that, because that really does mess things up, especially if we've had a lot of issues where, like, if someone drops mid-season but they beat you earlier in the season, everybody else gets a free win.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I
And you
mean? It's
lost.
kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, like
Yeah.
that's not
Exactly.
cool. And so I think that it was really nice to see everybody just stick it out regardless of how they were playing.
Hmm.
Sounded like everybody had fun. But as we move into the playoffs and stuff, we're going to look to do obviously Dave's event, but we're also going to look to do our end of the year cookout. Probably coming up in either end of May or June, and then during the playoff times, the committee. Which is, the four of us there are all open to what people want to do next season, when they want next season to start, whether we do want to do a D League again, or just go straight into another season like,
Hmm.
in July or August, give everybody a little break to
Right.
figure out what they want to play or whatever, but mostly try and figure out, do we just jump right back in, or, do people want a longer break away from Blood Bowl, which I wouldn't advise, but yep. And then, looking in our Group B here, the Stone Cold Stunners, Vermintide have locked in their playoff spot. I think also it's a pack of Reptars have also locked in their playoff spot. No, they are on the fence still.
Right. I think because they play Cave Spring, right?
They
So they
play Cave Spring,
right.
so if they lose to Cave Spring Crash, they may be on the bubble of getting knocked out if Rachel and the Hungry Hibernators end up beating the
It would
Stone Cold
yeah, it would take
Stunners.
a huge upset. But Rachel, I'm pulling for you. She was my partner during Big Lake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Uh,
would love to see someone who's not been in the playoffs before make it,
right.
especially, and the same thing with Ed here. I don't know. Let's see. I guess he would have to have Rachel lose, him win, and Gerald's got to beat Alex.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
but even Ed could make it in at this point. 14 points here. I don't know who the Mallergas play. We can look at that. But the Mallergas could get enough points to edge in as
right? If
well.
everybody lost, yeah,
If
which is
everybody
possible.
here lost or
Yep.
Gerald wins,
Yeah,
these
then he'd
people
definitely be
lose.
in. Then the
Then
Malgas
he
would
could
definitely be
even
in.
get in. I think the only people that are out so far that just can't make it are the Rat Pack, the Rough Riders, and the Shadow Goats at this point. So
Which, interestingly enough, the Rat Pack, yeah, they're not gonna make the playoffs, but they're the only team right now to have beaten Ron, right, and the Vermintide.
oh yeah,
So yeah, everybody's got a little bit of a claim to fame here during the season of having done something, right?
yep,
That hopefully we take away as definite positives.
yep. And
Um,
I think that seeing like new coaches who've just never played Blood Bowl, like Daniel,
mhm.
or
Or
Ed's
Seth
kind of yeah, or
or Seth,
Seth.
yeah.
Aaron's played some Blood Bowl too, but he's new to tabletop. Seth playing the Packers there.
Hmm.
Jake doing his undead. I mean, it was really cool to see new coaches come in and sometimes they took one on the chin, but everybody stuck it out and
Yep.
hopefully they learned something. And it really is a game where the more you play, the better you get. You know what I mean? And it's
Yep.
almost like you really just have to focus on learning the rules. Then you can turn to the strategy. And
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like in your first season of Blood Bowl, you're just trying to learn the rules for the most
Exactly.
part.
Yeah. And some of the teams too that people chose, I give them credit for. They're not easy teams to win
Mhm.
with if you don't have a lot of experience. Like I would be performing the exact same way Seth is if I was playing Nurgle right now.
Nurgle, yeah,
They're a tough team, right? But once you know how to play them, they can be competitive. But so again, that's why I hope that no one gets too frustrated and that we get a chance to get a lot of these folks back next season.
yep, yep, it'd be great. So, um, it's kind of a look at kind of both the standings, really. I don't think we have to talk too much more about that. We can look a little bit at the games that are coming up.
Hmm.
So, um, Torplay did this cool thing that divides up the rounds now, which
Yeah, I
was
like that
which
because
was
we were able to go
nice.
back and look at
You can
who's
look
gonna.
at the others without having to scroll down forever, and also jump right to the games that are here. Because I know that people complain that
Was a scroll
they would
fest?
generate, I put in these one round at a time,
Hmm.
but I think your guys last year generated the whole schedule at once in tour play. And so to get to your game, you had to scroll all
Yeah.
the way to the bottom. And so there was enough complaints that people did this, or they did this to fix it. So I guess first up, we got the Royal Family against the Punching Stunties. Um, it's in the primordial rainforest. The royal family, to me, has finally started to come along and develop as their Saurus have gotten skills. I think it took them
Hmm.
a long time to get these guys some skills. Um, they have Daniel Radcliffe, which has sure feet. And one of the things I noticed when I played Aaron was that he's definitely not afraid to use his skinks defensively. Like I feel like
Yeah,
when
he took
I
out a wolf with it.
right, and when I played Lizardman back in the day, my skinks just kind of hovered in the background, kind of like safeties, and I'd hit somebody if like I needed to.
Hmm.
But I mean, he's just running in, just jumping in cages, jumping
Yep.
on the ball, and it did shock me at one point. I mean, he scored on me, almost scored a second time because I mean he was just I'm going 8 spaces, go for it,
Yep.
and before you know it, he's all in your backfield like almost immediately. And I imagine he'll do something similar. I mean, he'll have to be weary of the tackle.
Yeah, in my
Um,
game against him, it was actually much closer than the score
mhm,
because the first score, especially, he just got literally, for lack of a better phrase, lacrossed, right? I was able to
yeah.
cage jump, grab the ball, and be gone the other way.
Hurt
But
a
if
few Saurus, I think, too. Clawed a
Yeah,
few
yeah,
Saurus,
but
and
if that wouldn't have happened, it would have been a totally different game. So, yeah, I don't think I think he's got a good chance.
mhm,
Um, it's just going to be a matter of, obviously a tackle that that the Chaos Dwarves have is going to turn off that dodge, and a
yeah,
few other things. So he'll have to be a little more careful, I think, with the skinks than he did against me.
yeah. And he does have 3 guard. I think that matches how many the punching stunties have here.
Hmm. Oh, he's got strength
One,
for
oh,
days.
he's
Yeah,
got 4.
yeah,
4 guard, but he's got that strength 4, and I think if those
exactly.
3 guards stay close, the strength 5,
Because with the
4, it
Crocs,
won't
yeah.
really matter
Well, his Crocs
about
has
these
guard
guard
too.
right there. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
if the Crocs and the others get there, I don't know if this guard amount of guard will help really the stunties, and they'll still be throwing either 1 die blocks.
Yep.
The plus is that they do have block versus non-block on a lot of
Right.
the Saurus. But it's a risky thing. It's a thing where dice could go bad, and before you know it, you're losing.
Yeah, I definitely think this one could come down to the lions keeping each other stuck where they're at, and
Hmm.
then it's gonna be a matter of how the bull centaurs do around the edges versus his skinks around the edges to see who ends up scoring. Because
Yep. Yeah, because I think he's at 7 tackle right now.
yeah,
One, two,
look at
three,
that.
four, five, six, yeah, 7 tackle players right now, which is
Yeah, and
a
block on
lot.
everybody. I
Yeah,
mean,
block on every single person, Juggernaut on the enslaved Minotaur, but the enslaved Minotaur on Chaos Dwarves is so much better than the Minotaur for Chaos Chosen because Animal Savagery pretty much means you can hit a guy who's armor 10,
yeah,
still get to do everything you want to do.
yeah,
Odds of you breaking his armor is like what, 6%? It's
right. It's
pretty
pretty low.
small.
Yeah,
It's pretty low, and odds of hurting him is even lower. And then you look at someone like the Chaos Chosen Minotaur that would just be like derp and just stand there doing nothing, and it takes
yeah.
much more.
You
And
know,
so,
I didn't have to face that Minotaur, thank God. When I played him,
oh
he
yeah,
was. I think you had injured him. Someone had injured him right
yeah.
before I played him.
He might have injured himself. I remember when I played him, um, either I hurt him or he hurt himself. I cannot remember, but I know that um, he failed a lot of stuff. Like I got him kind of in sort of like a frenzy trap where he wanted to blitz with him all the time, obviously because he's a
Yeah, because
Minotaur,
yep,
and so when he would, I would get him in a trap to where you would have to do go for it to finish his frenzies and stuff, and he would either burn through re-rolls or double skull stuff or whatever, and end up on the ground, and then I was running by him. Um,
yep.
and then obviously Mike's a very experienced player. He's sitting at 1,500 team value versus the Royal Family's 1410. So there will be a little bit of inducements there, but not much. It's probably just a Bloodweiser Babe or something like that. Maybe a Weather Mage or something. I think Aaron likes to take those.
I think he had one for my game, and I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything that he can get in terms of for a star player for 90 on his side.
No, and he's on a little bit of a losing streak. It looks like he's lost his last three.
Mm.
But maybe he could turn that around. If he does, he might have a chance to kind of open the door for the Hushuts chosen to make it in
Well,
the playoffs if he can
and as
get
we
a
were
win
saying,
here.
he doesn't even have to win. If he just scores and prevents
A four
Mike
point,
from getting a 5-point victory, then it's a chance
then
for
it's a
look.
chance.
Yeah,
Yeah. So all he has to do is either score, is just score. He's
yep,
just got to score. He doesn't even have to win.
exactly.
Um, he could lose 5 to or 3-1 or whatever,
Yep.
or 4-1 and still end up, you know, hurting the chances of
Of the
locking
stunties
in for
again.
the stunties. And the
Yep.
stunties really have to get a 2 or 3-0 win in this one
Hmm.
in order to secure their spot.
Yeah, I think 5-point guarantees it. Anything else? Well, maybe a 4-point still guarantees tease it. Yeah, I think it does with the standings. But bottom line is, he's Mike still has to come through, and
Yeah,
Aaron can still play a spoiler if, in fact,
yeah.
uh,
Do you have a prediction for this game?
I'm not like you.
You're not
No,
like me. I'll,
no,
I'll tell you what I think. I think it's going to be 2 for the royal family, 1 for the punching stunties. I actually think the royal
really.
family is going to win this one. I do.
Uh-oh.
I do. I think that the stunties aren't going to be able to overcome this
My,
much strength 4, and if Aaron can keep all of those guys clumped together, the worst thing that would happen to him is he starts to spread his lizardmen out because
yeah.
they're only as strong as they are when they're all clustered together.
Yep. Yeah.
And
Just to
that's
build a
usually how
tight
you beat
cage.
them
Yeah.
too. So as Mike goes, Mike needs to try and figure out how to strategically spread them out so all these guards, strength 5 and the prehensile tails and stuff aren't working against him
Yep.
so much. And so that's my guess. There's no clause here, so it's going to come down to who can roll 10 pluses really.
Yeah.
The thing that hurts the stunties is they obviously have a bunch of 8+ hobgoblins.
Right.
Um, so that's my guess for that match. Then we have the other playoff match in the Desolate Wasteland, which is the Hushuts chosen against the Green Slime Packers. And so Sess had a rough
Hmm.
number of games. I think he won his first round, but he's lost the last, I guess, 6 beyond that. He does have a beat up Pestigore, which is his block Pestigore. He's playing down a bunch of players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he's going to end up with 3 journeymen, um, which that will take him 1085 plus to around 1190 team value just to fill up with
Hmm.
journeyman. He does have money, so if it was
Yep.
me, at this point I would probably just buy another Pestigore or two. Probably two. I just buy two more Pestigores.
So yeah, I guess I got a question for you there, and this shows my ignorance too, because I haven't had to deal with it yet in the last couple seasons. Is if this is his last game of the season, um, how would that work for him, money wise versus the journeyman? Can he still bring a? Can he use that to bring a star player or something to make it interesting
Yeah,
or
he
fun? Or,
could. He could definitely. So he's got 210. 210 could get him Glart. Glart would be a good one. It's got block, claws, grab, juggernaut, and claws and block and all of those. I mean,
hmm.
this is probably who I would look to take as Glart Senior. Um, well, I guess there's no junior senior now. There used to be a junior and
Oh
senior in
really?
the last
Okay.
edition. Yeah, but I guess they're all just now Glart. And to me, if I was playing against Chaos Dwarves, having claws
Sure.
super
Yep.
useful. Juggernaut to try and push some dudes out. He's got stand firm himself. He's kind of a monster. I used to play
Yeah.
against him on
Even that
Arsenal teams.
grab is useful because it can help you put somebody where you want them, right?
Yep. And then he could, if he really wanted to, induce Hack Flim, which Hack Flim is
Yeah.
a monster. I mean, he's
Yeah.
movement 9, he's got dodge, he's got extra head, so he's a 1+ dodger into tackle zones. He's got prehensile tail, he's got 2 heads, right? So he's got 2 heads, so he's 1+ dodging.
Extra
Uh,
arms. What's that do?
Extra arms gives him a +1 to pick up the ball, so he's picking up the ball in a tackle zone on a on,
Two
on
up.
on a 2 up. So he's dodging through tackle zones on a 2+. He moves 9
Yeah.
plus to go
That's
for
a
it.
huge
He's an
scoring threat
11.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. And um, you know, where he doesn't really have a ball handler, right? I mean, even if he gets a bunch of rotters, he's got
Right.
one agility 3+ guy.
Yep.
That's the one thing they nerfed with Nurgle in this edition was they moved all the rotters up to 4s. They used to be 3-up agilities,
Yeah.
so you could carry the ball with a rotter if you needed to, or
Yeah. I was
catch a pass or whatever.
because after Big Lake when we got the figure that would make a great rod spawn. I'm gonna go ahead and make a Nurgle team. And looking at it, you got no choice but to take 4 Pestigores because otherwise you've got no one to pick up the ball and it's easy
Yeah,
to hurt you.
you at least need to take 2, and then I think you get your third one pretty soon. Whether
Yeah.
you get the fourth one, it just depends on how the season's going. But I'd at least eventually get up to 3.
Sure. Yeah. To have that reliability picking up
Yeah,
the ball.
yeah. He does have one guard. He's got a fin block clause. Um, so Typhicus is my baby from sevens. He has not
Hmm.
gotten any other skill ups since then. But I made this guy during sevens.
And he didn't get drafted.
He did get drafted. That's how
But I mean, he got the additional. Like mine kept getting drafted as soon as I got one skill, but yours got
Mine
three.
got 3, yeah,
Nice.
which was nice. And I actually random this one, hated it. And then I was like, I'll just be real stingy, get block. Then I was like, right before the draft, I randomed real quick and got him in there, which was nice. But yeah, I ended up having to choose him to get drafted at the very end when you
Really?
got to pick that one player because he never got picked. But Rotfinger's got block, break, tackle, so he's a 2+ dodger,
Hmm.
breaking away. Which is nice. That'll be useful. And, you can't stop that with tackle, which is good.
Right.
Um, and then he's facing Hashut's Chosen, which led by Thrackbull Skull Crusher, who's sitting in 20 star player points. So he's almost to, what is this? Choose a
That's to choose a
secondary?
secondary,
Choose a
yeah. And then the next
secondary.
one is your ability upgrade, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to guess that once he gets up to here, he's going to choose a secondary, which would bring him into, I guess it's, what's that? I guess star ability. I don't remember
Yeah,
what's after
yeah.
emerging star. I think it's
It's
maybe just
star.
star. And so I don't know what he would get. I'm assuming he's saving up for dodge. So then he's a block dodge, sure hands, break tackle. So then
Yeah,
he's dodging out on a 4+, but
yeah.
it's re-rollable.
But that's okay. I know it's going to come back to haunt me, but this is a shout out to Fluff. It's okay. With that 4+ agility, with sure hand, still doesn't matter. He still can't pick up the ball.
That's right.
9 times in the same game. But no, I agree with you. I think that if he doesn't try to get the ability upgrade now, then
Yeah.
he'll get the secondary. Um,
Take
but
dodge.
yeah, the problem is that after the next one, the ability upgrade is so expensive that if you don't do it by after your third
Is it
skill,
40 or something like
yeah, it's
that?
huge. It's
Oh,
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. So obviously he's got four garters. He's got three mighty blows. Um, he's only rocking, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's got 12 players, so he does have a bench player.
Yeah.
He's sitting at 1450. What did I say that they were at?
Well, then
1190. So
that's a lot of star. That's a
he's
lot of
gonna get
inducement.
250 right there. So he may be able to get Glart and Hack
Right.
Flim
Yep.
for his last game, plus his three journeymen, which would be kind of awesome. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah.
would be cool to see Glart and Hackflim against Hashutz. If Seth did that, I think there's a good chance that he might be able to pull something off there.
Well, yeah. What he could do is again, if he scores once, Fluff is probably out, depending on what happens in the other game.
That's true. Yeah. So depending on how mean Seth wants to be, all he's got to do
Yep.
is punch in one in the end zone just to ruin somebody else's play.
Exactly.
Take them down with him is kind of what it
Exactly.
is. Oh, that's pretty funny. So I guess my guess here, you know, I don't know what Seth's going to do with his inducements. Maybe he watches this video and takes our
Right.
advice. Maybe not. I'm gonna say Fluff's probably going to win this one 2-0, maybe
Yeah.
3-0 to be honest. If he really wanted to.
Yeah, I think at the end you're right. It kind of does depend on what Seth takes, but when you look at that guard and mighty blow, those three in a row, that front line of Heshet's chosen is just really strong.
Yeah, and I think that probably what will happen is obviously a Shut's chosen would target to remove, that Pestigore, the one
Hmm.
Pestigore he's got. And then at that point, Seth's probably going to try and pick up the ball, probably fail,
Yep.
burn his rerolls, and then he's going to start sculling or double sculling,
Yep.
keep failing to pick it up, and just Fluff will be able to just run it in over and
Exactly.
over. So next up, we have your match, which we talked quite a bit about.
Yeah, I've been sweating
Um,
all week.
he's sweating. So it's taking place at the graveyard, which is the Mash's home field advantage. You're going to use your mat for that
Yes, I
match.
will use
Yeah.
the obnoxious mat.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, it's not
Mm.
obnoxious. It's not obnoxious. It's fine.
No.
And
Actually, you know what I was hoping, but it won't be here in time. Is I actually have one of those scoreboards, the one that you have for SCCBL, or
yeah.
he's actually making one that has the mash on it,
Oh, is he?
and
Okay. This is
it's
Ironheart Artisans.
yeah,
I
yeah,
like Alex quite a
yeah.
bit. So
It won't be done in time for this game, but hopefully for the playoffs if I
yeah.
make it.
So what we're looking at here, you're obviously down a Wraith. You're
Hmm.
down a Ghoul. As far as maxing out your positionals, you only have 11 dudes, so
Yeah,
no bench. Really, you are sitting on 400,000 gold.
yeah.
So you do have money to do something with. You still have not bought a third reroll, which is really surprising. So you're at 1260. I don't remember exactly what Mark's at here.
1370.
1370.
Yeah,
So you're 110 um, in inducements there.
yeah. I have to make up my mind by tomorrow night what I'm gonna do, but obviously I have to do something.
Hmm.
And to get both the bench back and make sure I'm ready. You know what I've been struggling with the whole time has been I haven't bought that reroll because everybody else has been behind me in team value. So that's the good and the bad, right? Of bringing players back that are high value
Hmm.
is I've been giving up so much inducements if I had gotten that additional reroll by now. So at some point I have to go ahead and buy it, but you know, been holding off as long as I could. I do have the opportunity to get some star players, but I'd really try to make them save them for the playoffs if I
Yeah.
needed them. Um, and you know, one thing I keep toying with, I won't do it this game either, but I keep toying with 100,000 for either the traveling necromancer, right, for the kind of the reroll on a
Yeah.
failed, or once I'd like to try the professor that gives you that random people
Oh, yeah.
get mutations
Mutations, and
and
then
then a
there's a
chance to
1 in
keep it.
6. Yeah,
Yeah.
but what if you roll a 1?
Well, then you miss the next game, I
Your
think.
playoff match?
Yeah, that's true. That's why I didn't say I
That's
was going to do it, but
it. You missed your playoff
but
match.
I keep fantasizing about Laclaws with horns, right?
Yeah,
You know,
I
or
don't even think I could do, like I was curious if as an admin, I don't even think I have an option to give him. Oh, I do.
yeah, yeah. Look at that.
Okay, well, good, good. I was
Yeah,
always curious if I actually had a way to
yeah.
give him horns or
Right, or
something,
anybody.
or if the thing forced them out. So, yeah, I mean, it would be cool. I would honestly say give him two heads,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that would
That would
be,
be phenomenal. All the
yeah,
dodging and all.
yeah. He would
Um,
just be just zipping through lines or whatever would be really
But
cool.
I will give my prediction on this game. I think that if I'm really lucky, it's a draw.
Yeah.
I really think Mark wins it. His team is just really strong, and we're both playing for to try to stay healthy, right? Really, regardless of the outcome of this game, doesn't really change much as we've already discussed, right? So I think that I know both of us, our primary goal will be to stay healthy. Of course, he's coming after my team to injure me for the playoffs. I don't play that game very well in terms of injuring other players. I just don't have what he has to
Hmm.
stay in that fight long.
You do have
So
claws, you just
I
don't have
I do,
mighty
but
blow.
right. And so, but claws come with frenzy, so that's a penalty against all that guard and stuff that he has.
Yep.
So, so I think that at the end, I think that he probably wins it. Although my goal will be to try to keep it no worse than like a 1-0 kind of deal, or maybe tie 1-1, because I'd still like to beat you for total touchdowns for the season.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, you think about it, he will never get more than well, he will get multiple dice on the claws if he brings in real assists, but
right.
he cannot use his, three or four garters to give you two die blocks against LeClaws because of his defensive ability. So, you know,
They
un-
changed that in
well,
the wording. It says now in my turn.
it's your no, no, no. So on your opponent's turn, you
Okay.
turn off their
Oh,
guard,
okay. Okay.
is what it is. So you don't get to like move your guy up and shut all their guard off. But if they try and hit you,
Okay.
but bring a guy in and
Okay.
mark him with guard, if that guy's already marked by somebody else, then that guard doesn't count. And so he's got to get real assists against
Gotcha.
LaClaws.
Okay.
So you'd have to leave him in such a position that there were, open tackle zones around him that he could move a real assist in before hitting him.
So that's where I'm really mad at Aaron for taking out my Wraith that had guard before, because he could have kept up with the claws a little better.
Well, yeah, because you turn off their guard, but
Yeah.
also you still get to use yours.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, if it was me, I think about when I cage, if I only have a couple guards like you do, you put one, at the front right corner, put one at the back
Back left
left,
to kind of,
and
yeah,
then there's
make the
no way to
corners.
get in to hit him without a guard being on him in some
Yep.
way. Um, you don't want them both at the front or both in the back of the cage unless you're trying to like
Right.
use their stand firm, I guess. Um, and then of course, I guess you don't really forget about Evgeny can still run
Yes.
the ball quite a bit.
Yeah.
I would if I were you try and use Yosimer to just harass the heck out of him with the claws block and let him be your headhunter per se.
Yeah. That's
Um,
my goal. There is hopefully he can do a little bit. The thing that I debated and I almost went back and forth a bit was jump up versus sidestep for the ghoul.
hmm
But the ghoul's armor's so low that usually if he's getting knocked over, he's already got a lot of.
He's gonna get hurt maybe.
Yeah.
Well, especially with all the mighty blow on him too.
Yeah.
There's obviously tons of tackle.
This
Um,
team is so stacked.
obviously if I was Mark, I'd probably look to use goalie as much as possible to try and wrestle down the claws,
Hmm.
or, um, he's got wrestle tackles, so he's got essentially a really good shot to bring down a block dodger with
Hmm.
goalie, right? He's going to break him down on a pal, defender stumbles, he's going to knock him down on a both down.
Hmm.
Then the other two are pushed. So he's got a 50-50 shot to bring down a blodger versus anybody else is going to have like a 16% chance, right? So he's got a
Right.
much better chance. Um, he doesn't have any strip ball or anything yet on anybody, which helps you a lot because, if you have wrestle tackle and strip ball, he's
Yeah.
popping the ball out 85% of the time, or taking you down
Exactly.
50% of the time, so luckily he doesn't have that yet. But, Mark's probably, I mean, he's only got 11 dudes. He's got 185K, four rerolls. So he's got tons of rerolls. It's going to take some really bad dice to get ahead of him in that way. So
Yeah.
you're going to have to outman him. Um, and obviously either that or score fast enough that he can't return back. Because he
Right.
can only score, I mean, I know he's had a couple games where he scored like three times or something like that, but realistically, he's capping out at two scores. So if
Hmm.
you can get one or two in, worst case, you probably will end up in a tie or
Yeah.
something like that. And so, I guess my
The other thing is
prediction,
if he's healthy, then that just means he beats you up more in the first game of the playoffs. So.
yeah, maybe. I actually think this game will be. I actually think you'll win this game. I'm going to say you'll win this one
Uh-oh.
2-1.
Oh, Mark, you hear that?
Yep,
Yeah. I know
I
Mark will be
actually
watching
do.
this
I mean,
tonight.
I think that Mark's gonna beat the shit out of you. No lie,
Probably,
he's
yeah.
gonna decimate your team. He's just not gonna win.
Gotcha.
I really think he will hurt this team.
Yeah,
But you're gonna score too much, or like you'll score, he'll score back, and then you'll get the ball down a couple players, will be able to score, and he won't have enough time left.
gotcha.
Is
Yeah,
probably more like what happens. But that's my guess. I guess kind of going through the next one, Sinister Storm and the Bullfrogs.
poor
You know,
Z. He should get like a 3 touchdown lead on you.
he I've only scored 3 touchdowns one time in a game. Um, my team is obviously pretty beat up. I'm going to be playing with some journeymen. I got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. So I'm going to end up with 2 journeymen. I don't even know what that puts me at. 10, 80 plus. What are my journeys? 70 plus 70. Oh, so I'm going to be sitting at 1220 after my 2 journeymen. He's sitting at 1320. So I'm going to get 100K. I'll tell you right now, I'm going to take a wandering apothecary because I want to be able to have 2 apothecaries to try
Hmm.
and save my people for the
How does
outcome.
he have that much team value after getting decimated so bad with injuries all season?
Well, he finally started not. He's got the most healthy team I think he's ever
Okay.
had at this point. He's got nobody out. I think he's sitting on a bunch of players. He's got 12 dudes. He's finally got a couple with skill ups. Granted, he's just randoming everything and, getting no dodge, which is kind of unfortunate, I guess. Um, I look at this team and it could be trouble for me. I mean, obviously, I use my mobility to kind of reposition
Hmm.
constantly. I did it a little bit versus you.
Yep.
I'm obviously down 3 block dodgers, which hurts
Yep.
my mobility quite a bit. Um, and down my runner, which is my ball carrier with block dodge dump off. And he's got a couple diving tackles, and that's what scares me there on his team is this 2 diving tackle, because that means that I'm only dodging away on a 4 plus.
Right.
So he could cause some turnovers, and he gets to see my roll before deciding to use it.
Okay.
That's what makes it good. Is I roll the die. If I roll a 3, he says, "Okay, now I'm dive tackling," and I either have to re-roll
Hmm.
or take the turnover at that point. And so that's a scary skill to have. And then the fact that they're able to diving tackle, then their turn, if they cause a turnover, use jump up, so they still have 7 movement.
Yeah.
That's what makes them really good. Obviously they're leaping on 3s. Catchers leap on 2s. Pretty much their agility straight up because of the long legs and pogo stick. Um, so really, you can't really keep the ball safe within a cage
Yeah.
because he's
No.
just 3 plus jump
And
in.
he's not weaker than you armor wise or anything. Yeah, this is actually a kind of a tough matchup
It's a
for you.
closer matchup than
Yeah.
maybe people think it is,
Yep.
at least to me. He's got prehensile tail plus the 2 diving tackles. Mean I'm not going to be able to move around a lot.
Right.
You think about it. If he gets a Croxagore on me plus a Blitzer, I'm a 5 plus Dodger to try and get away, and I'm not going to attempt that
Right.
probably. Unless
Only
it's
if the
like,
game is on the line.
yeah, if the game's on the line, I might try a 5 plus Dodge, but I'm not going to just do it
Right.
that point. But then that means I'm going to get hit by a Mighty Blow Croxagore my next turn,
Yeah.
which I don't want either. You know what I mean? Or get hit by a block blitzer as well. And so when I used to play Slan, you never took the blitzers. They were just so garbage. And I still think they kind of are because they're so expensive. I mean, 110K for just a rookie is a
Right.
lot of money for a dude that doesn't have block. You know what I mean? The start. Um,
I'm used to wolves. What are you talking about?
well, you got
125K,
claws.
but
Claws is
yeah,
huge.
yeah, but yeah, but so he's, but I don't know. I mean, against you, that's not that bad, right?
That's
Because
a great thing against elves,
yeah,
but against like dwarves or another
right,
bash
yeah,
team,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not useful.
and that has been
Um,
the thing for our division. Has had a lot of bash in it. Now he's got cash, I assume, or
he's got 20K,
oh,
so
okay,
no, he's
so
out of
no,
money. He does got 4 rerolls, which he needs every one of them um, for Slan. I don't. He doesn't have very many dedicated fans, so I'm probably not going to get a lot of cash from this.
and I don't think you were gonna
Um,
get much.
I do
So
got some money. I'm sitting on 300, but I'm not planning on using it for anything myself.
right, so you'll be looking at journeyman,
Yeah,
and so you'll have at least 3 players that basically don't have rerolls, or at least you won't be able to count on them.
right. And if they're tagged with diving tackle and whatnot, I mean, I may lose this game. Really, I
Yeah.
mean, I really think that it's a real possibility. Um, I'm gonna. I mean, do you got a prediction for this game?
The way you've been talking about it and wanting to pull for Z,
You should pull for Z.
I'm going to say maybe at least a 1-1 tie.
I would have called it a 1-1.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if I'll lose, but I'm not as confident as I have been in other games that I'll win
Yeah.
either. Um, because I feel like that team, you know,
He's going to
Slan
force you
are.
to make one die blocks because he can stay with you and he can make your dodges tough. So you're
Yep,
going to end up having to do one die blocks to create space instead. And
yep. So the last matchup in our division is the Valor Valkyries against the Silver Strikers. So the Valkyries need a 5-point win to have a shot. We wanted to check. Let me go
yep,
back and do that real quick. So the Valkyries, let's see how they did against the Stunties and Hushuts
I think they lost to both.
to both. I guess I could start here. Hushuts, Valkyrie, nope. Nope, nope.
They won there
Uh,
against,
against
okay.
Z. Here they
So
are.
they
So they
lost to,
lost to the Stunties.
yep, and then they lost to
They
Hushut.
lost to Fluff 3-0.
Yep.
So they're out. I don't think there's any way they can make it.
Well, okay, they could if somehow both Mike and Fluff lost, right? Because then
Oh,
and
yep.
they won, then they could pass them up
So
pure
you need to
points.
see Aaron win that one, and Seth's got to pull out an upset against Hashutz,
Yeah.
and he's just got to win at that point.
Right.
He would
Right.
just have to get just a regular 1-0,
Yep. A 3-point win would get
a
him in.
3-point, yeah, a one or 2-1, I
Yeah.
guess,
Yeah.
would get him in. So he does have a shot. He does have a shot. He's not out yet. Let me go back to the fixtures here.
However, in all fairness, Shad's team is
Getting
it's
better.
not easy. It's not easy to play against. It can
Yeah.
do very well.
They have very good like stymie skills to keep you like in place.
Yeah. In fact, they drew with Mark, right? I
They
believe.
drew with me. It was a zero
Oh,
zero draw. Yep.
gotcha. Yep.
Yep. So it was really tough. It came down to I think I double skulled a witch elf block and then re-rolled into a double skull,
Nice.
which was good. And then the ball got like kind of tied up for 3 or 4 turns, and by the time I got it down, I had to do a go for it in the end zone with no re-rolls and failed,
And that was, yeah,
and that was it. So there was a shot that I could still win that one 1-0, but it was a shocker for me. I don't think I
kind of like that
anticipated that.
4% play that got the draw against you when we played.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah, that's right. That's right. I forget about that. Yeah, I try and block those memories out. But yeah, I mean, he's got a number of guard stand firm wrestle dudes. That's tough. You know, Felix the Ogre mount has got, you know, block dodge sidestep now, which is good. He's got another blodging noble
Mhm.
blitzer, so his blitzers are both pretty stacked. Little John still got guard.
I think that ogre, so that he's going to have to put his guard in the right place because the ogre versus the Yeti is not necessarily great for the ogre with claws, right? On the
I'm
Yeti.
surprised he hasn't picked a skill for Little John.
Oh, is he able to skill up?
He is. He's at 8, so he could skill up.
I think that's a
Uh,
choice on on a primary, right?
yeah, it's a choice on a primary. Vincent could random primary, which I don't know if he really wants to do. It doesn't hurt, I guess.
What are their team values? 1285 versus.
1285 versus 1380.
Oh, so he's got 100,000, roughly 95,000 in there.
Yep. And he's even down a player too, down a catcher. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So he's going to play in just 11 dudes.
Yep.
He does have Helga, which is the Mighty Blow Thick Skull Juggernaut Yeti. He's got Seraph Backbreak, which is in the touchdown race to some
Hmm.
degree. I mean, I think
Yep.
he's third maybe
Yep.
or
He's up
so.
there.
He's up there. And then the old foreigners have been getting skills. This is kind of a funny one, Armbar Juggernaut. But who
Hey.
knows what happens? I mean,
Yeah.
until it works, it's hard to laugh at, and it'll work on somebody. Um, this is kind of funny. The safe pass on the ball too, because I mean, I don't think anybody's passing with. He's thrown
I
one
think
pass
he's
with this guy.
when you look at this, all the block with the frenzy and the other stuff versus the stand firm and the fend and all. Um, I could see this one being another one of those, low scoring draws and just come
Hmm.
down to dice rolling.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that you know he's losing a lot of the stand firm's going to stop and the fend. The stand firm won't stop the frenzy, right? If he stands firm, he still
So he
gets
gets
to
to
get
hit
hit
it.
again.
The Fen
if
turns it
the
off.
Fend will turn off the Frenzy in particular. So I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it could be close.
The thing for Shad will be to like I noticed this when I played him was occasionally, um, and I know he's not here to defend himself, but he knows that I appreciated his game. He he doesn't have to fend every time. There's some times where it makes sense to go ahead and let me frenzy myself into a problem instead
Well,
of
and
turn it
that's, he got
off.
me like that. He stood firm with me the whole game except for like the last turn, and I just assumed he was going to stand firm because he just had it
And yeah,
automated. Like, just assume I'm stand firming.
and he
Yeah,
brought you into a frenzy
yeah, he
trap.
brought me in a frenzy trap where I had to
Yeah,
one die the second block, and I think I
yeah.
failed it, or maybe I just
And
pushed. I don't
and
remember.
I think that's the trick with Imperial when you finally figure out how to really play that between the fend and the stand firm and how to
Yeah,
really put people in problems.
yeah.
That can really be useful.
Well, and both of these coaches have quite a bit of experience with both of these teams. I know Maurice has played this team. I want to call him Roy because of his name
Yeah.
there. But Maurice has played Norse. He played them in the Mill Mountain Grinder. He
Yep.
played them a lot in sevens or street ball.
This is his second
Um,
season
yeah,
with
with
Silver.
Norse, they're
Yep.
similar. And then, obviously, Shad has played the Silver Strikers for
Second
two
season. Yep.
seasons as well. And so they're both very established
Yeah, I
coaches.
think the Silver Strikers would have had a much better season if it weren't for the fact that the first couple games they got hit by the injury bug. They got decimated early.
Yeah, and I do think that they're one of the more negative
Yeah,
casualties.
9 to 22.
Yeah, 9 to 22, so minus 13.
Yeah, and
Um,
a lot of that, like I said, was early in the season,
yeah,
which really hurts because you're constantly trying to catch back up then.
yeah. I actually think this one is going to go. I think this one's going to go to Shad. I'm going to give
You
it
think
to
he's gonna be a
him.
spoiler?
I'm going to say 1-0 right there.
All right. Well, that
I
means he
think.
would be spoil Maurice's only hope of getting into the playoffs. So
Yeah, that's the way I like it. It's nobody makes
nobody
it.
gets in.
Just me.
Yeah.
Uh, and then looking at the next one, we got a potential, playoff matchup per se. Stone Cold Stunners pretty beat up in these past couple games. They've lost some chosen blockers, so they've got some unskilled dudes. Really, just I'll be honest, they've been outskilled by other teams in the league for the most part.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to see them. I feel like if they were in our division, they would be doing probably likely more poorly than they are here because they've been outskilled and paced with our top 4 or 5 guys. Hell, they have 12, 14 skills apiece, 15
Right.
skills. He's got one, two, three, like 8, maybe 7, and he's got half of what most teams do because he's gotten his blockers killed a number of times. He's lost a couple beastmen.
Yeah, that's what scares me the most about him as a coach is, he has taken all that in stride and just continued to just win and be
Yep,
good. So, he's not like me, right? I'm not gonna lie. I'm dependent on a few players, and if they're out, my game probably changes dramatically. But he has just found a way to to perform well no matter what.
yep.
So, um, to
He
me,
hasn't
that's
been
scary.
scored on in 3 games, and
Look at that.
so
Yeah.
he's playing good defense, even getting beat up a little bit.
The one thing that you can see he's loaded up on some tackle here, and I can see why because, he's expecting to meet Ron again in the playoffs.
Ron or Gerald, both of them
Yeah,
have
with Dodge.
dodge with the
Yep.
skinks. I think that's what it is, and I still don't know if I necessarily agree with. I mean, I get you have tackle, but block would be. I'm sure block would. I would always take block first over tackle with no block.
Yeah.
Tackle to me is a skill you get second. You don't get it first.
Hmm.
Um, when you don't have block already, or wrestle or something. Something to bring
Right.
something down. Um, and I think maybe the idea is there's obviously a counter to I guess my thing is he's obviously targeting gutter runners. I think
Right.
because
Exactly. Yeah.
none of the
I think
skinks
that's what it
really have
is.
block at this point, so it's not really worried, and it's a double for them, so they're
Yeah.
probably not going to get it.
I think that's what he's looking at, and the fact that he's already got a two die most of the time on a blitz with the horns. So
That's right.
you know
He could just get one assist. He'll get a 3 die against a gutter runner.
exactly.
Yeah, that's true. So 1205 for him. Hungry Hibernator sitting at 1250. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They'll be playing 11 people, so 1250 is what they're locked in at. Sitting on a bunch of cash. I forget what kind of stars they can get. Are they? I think they're Lustrian.
Grim
Yeah.
Iron. Oh, they can't bring.
So
She doesn't have the money to bring Zug.
no, I think you. Let's see. If I was gonna take anything,
Don't say Acorn. I hate that squirrel.
no, I actually really like Rumbelow. I think he's a really underrated star. He gets to add, I think he gets to add to an injury roll after he sees the
Okay.
dice. He's got block, he's got horns, he's got tackle. He doesn't have hands, so he's not going to help carry the ball, but he's essentially strength 4 on a blitz with
Mm-hmm.
block tackle. So he's
Right.
bringing down any blodgers. He's got juggernauts, so you can't stand firm, you can't do any of that. Maybe some of that's wasted against Bob's team. Um, but I don't think, Grim Ironjaw. This team doesn't need more frenzy. Um,
Right.
Carla Von Kill would be pretty decent to have. A strength 4 blodger is never bad to have,
Right.
and so that's good. I feel like Grombrindle is kind of the one that I think is the best value because every turn he gets to give an adjacent player mighty blow, break tackle,
Wow.
um, dauntless, or one other thing. I want to say, oh, I can't remember what it is. I know it's Mighty Blow, Dauntless, Break Tackle. Maybe that's it. There's probably something I'm missing, but you could essentially, and that skill works even if he's prone, knocked down. As long as he's on the field, he can still gift it to somebody adjacent to him. Um, and that's every turn. It's not
Right. Right.
just once per game or anything like some
Yeah.
of
It's
the
not like
other
the other
star
star player
abilities,
ones. Yeah.
right? And then Mighty Zug is obviously good. A strength 5 ogre with block and Mighty Blow would be good as well. But I think Grombrindle would be cool because to start spreading some, because there's no Mighty Blow here really aside from
Right.
Nanook.
Right. Yep.
So you could at least have 2 Mighty Blow hits
Mm-hmm.
every turn. Might be a good idea. Um,
Yeah. And technically for her, it's win or go home right
yeah,
now. So why not? You spend the cash
to
and
spin the cash. Yeah, I mean, I would either do that. You think about it, they're down Jean Delowers, which is their ball carrier, right? So you
yeah.
could take Carla Von Kill. Maybe that's the better take to have a strength 4 blodging ball carrier.
Yeah. That's gonna
Um,
be tough. Wait, with movement 6, that'll be a bit of a.
be fast enough,
Hmm.
right? To make some damage. That'll give them the blodge back that they're missing. There would be one less.
But that's okay. The rest of her team is 6 right now
Yeah, and
anyway,
I
and it
think they're
keeps the
9.
cage
Or is
together.
she 9 plus? Yeah, she's a 9 plus armor. So she's better armor than some of the others. Um, she's got Dauntless. You're not really using that
And
much unless
with
you
the
got a.
jump up, you're not losing the speed ever. So yeah, it's
Mhm.
movement 6, but you're gonna get it every turn if you.
Right, that's right. So that may be a good pick. Tons of multi-block, which was kind of funny. I
Yeah.
actually gave him that advice to do that because I thought, well, we looked at it and I said you should take uh, strength because
Mm.
I was like, Juggernaut would be good, Guard would be good,
Yeah.
Mighty Blow would be
The only
good.
thing you don't want is
The only
multi-block.
thing you don't want is multi-block and strong arm, which you can't use strong arm, so you get to re-roll that anyway
Okay.
because she doesn't have throw teammate, or so you
Right.
wouldn't be using that. So there was only like this one skill, and rolled it on both of them, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know. I guess Thick Skull wasn't the biggest hit, but
Now that's actually not too bad, right? In fact, isn't that the?
that's the new Norse
Yeah, exactly.
lineman.
They get the drunkard and then the thick skull.
Yeah, yeah. So they're gonna stay on the field a little more now. So um, I feel like this one's gonna be pretty tough for Rachel to win. I still think.
Yeah.
I think it's not going to be a blowout. I don't think. Maybe I'm going to say 2-1. I'm going to say 2-1. Bob's still going to win it. I don't know if he can quite shut him down, but you know, he's probably going to still edge this one out, is my guess. Just being the more experienced coach.
So Rachel, if there's one that he gets wrong, this is the one I'm hoping he gets wrong. No
Yeah.
offense, Bob, but you're in the playoffs no matter what.
I mean, I would love to see Rachel make it. It's just going to be tough. It's going to be a tough matchup for sure.
This is the other one I'm looking forward to seeing.
So the Vermintide and the Corn Dogs. Vermintide have locked in their playoff spot. They're a little beat up. They're missing a passer and a lineman, which isn't a big deal. Um, they're sitting on 170,000. They still have, their four gutter runners still have Splinter Spine, which is not skilled up nor gained one SPP yet. So I'm not sure Ron feels like he's getting his mileage out
No,
of this
no,
Red Ogre
no.
at
He's
all.
he's he's lamented many times in private that decision, but
Yeah.
uh, I'm just going to go ahead and say it selfishly that you know everybody else wants to see Laclaus go down. I'm hoping that Scatter goes
The
down.
scatter goes down. I
Yeah,
mean, I
yeah.
don't like either one to be honest.
right, right. Both Ron and Ed know I love them, but that gutter runner scares me. And besides, I'd like to still win the scoring championship. So, but I think that the issue uh, that Ed is facing here is that with no tackle, he's likely to just push Scatter around and have Scatter go exactly where he wants, and then just dodge away with two heads and score. So
Yeah.
he's got to find a way to make sure he's knocking him down. Otherwise, it's not going to go well for him.
Yeah, I mean, he does have quite a bit of frenzy, which, they coined that the poor man's tackle, right? Because if
Yeah.
you get to hit him twice,
Except he has
you're twice as
sidestep.
likely
Yeah.
to knock him down with a pow.
True.
Um, but it also means you're twice as, likely to just push him around twice
Exactly.
as many squares. Um, you know, he, I'm actually kind of excited to see that his team is like slowly, it's actually developed at this point. It took
Yep.
a long time.
Yeah, well, he had the injury bug for a while too, right?
Yep.
And learning a new team, but yeah, this is one of the surprise stories of the season. He's really come along, and this is a new team, right? I think he's the first player. I know he's the first player in our league playing the new corn team,
Yeah,
and kind of
Corner not a new player team. I mean, the fact he took them,
right.
um,
Yeah, having to worry about frenzy on just about every player and not getting frenzy trapped from day one would be rough.
yep, that's
Um,
right.
so he's got a lot of money now that I see that.
Yeah, he's got a ton of money. I'm looking at the stars to be like, he should take a lot of stuff.
This would be where if he's got something he can grab that has tackle, this would be where to go with it.
And I don't know if anything has tackle. That's what I
Doesn't
was
look like it.
looking at.
Doesn't look like it.
The best star he could get, and I don't. That's the only thing that I'm worried about is in the right hands. Lord Borak, I think, is the best star in the game
That dirty player
because
plus
dirty
two and
player
sneaky
plus two
get.
plus sneaky get, and what it is you go up and foul. If you don't break armor right out, you don't use dirty player. You don't
Hmm.
get ejected because you only get ejected if you roll doubles on the injury,
Right.
not the armor break. So unless you're going to get the dirty player on the injury, it's not worth the risk of trying to roll the injury with no
Right.
dirty player plus two. So, I wouldn't go out of the gate turn one just start fouling with a 260,000 gold piece.
Mm-mm.
But he's actually got enough money that he could buy Borak plus buy a bribe
To keep him in the game
to keep
longer.
him in the game longer, and then you could foul with him turn one out of the gate,
Yep.
and Borak could feasibly destroy the Vermintide's team almost by himself.
Yeah. Yeah. He's what? He's strength
He's strength
five.
five.
So he's
He's three die
look
blocks on any character. He's got block.
yep.
He's got mighty blow.
With that 10 plus, you're not taking him off the field. He's gonna have to take himself off with a foul.
Right.
And so again, that mighty blow, that's where you come back to that. Can you use mighty blow on a foul?
You cannot, but you could
Okay.
use just dirty player. He's
Gotcha.
got dirty player
Gotcha.
plus two, and so you could add that to either the armor or the injury. It's like having mighty blow plus two,
Yeah.
but just for fouls,
Right.
um, which is insane because you could essentially with sneaky get dirty player. He's removing a player like 60% of the time every
Yeah.
time he fouls or something like
Well, and
that.
also if he gets a hold of a gutter runner, he can use mighty blow on the knockdown just to stun him. Make sure he breaks that armor for a stun, and then next
Yeah,
turn, just stand there and foul him.
just foul him the next turn. Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Or bring in a beastman to foul or something like
Right.
that. But yeah, I mean he could roll in with Lord Borak. Could bring. Of course, there's other stars. I mean, Hackflim would be a great one to just combat gutter runner with gutter runner. Um,
The thing for Ed is he doesn't have enough other fast players to keep up with Hackflem,
yeah,
and with four gutter runners on Ron's side, I think Hackflem would just get swarmed.
yep,
I think that he's better off playing a cage game. And
right. Yeah, and I'm not sure any of these others bode super well. I mean, Borak I think is the one you take.
yeah,
I don't see any other way. It's too bad. Well, is he going to get inducements? He might be able to get Morgan
Oh,
Thorpe,
check the yeah. If he gets Morgan Thorg, that's another
1360.
player that can clear the whole.
Oh no, he's not that well. Two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10.
Oh,
So he's going to be sitting at 50K, 1350 versus 1360. So no, he doesn't have enough.
no, no.
But yeah, if he was just 10K away, he could have got more grid at the end, and I would have loved to see that.
Yeah,
Just see block Mighty Blow +2 going to town.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I would take Borak, take a bribe with the extra cash.
yeah.
That's all your money pretty much.
Right, but I mean, you got no reason to save it because it's win or you're out
Yeah, if you win, you're in the playoffs. You're playing in the
potentially. Yeah,
playoffs potentially. If you lose, you're just going to go down with 370K in your pocket. Not much
yeah.
reason to do that.
No, because you don't
So
get to carry that to next season anyway,
yeah,
regardless.
I
So,
feel like like we talked a little bit. Ron will probably play less aggressive than he typically does.
yep.
Um, and the Corn Dogs, I think, can get in there. I'm not sure.
In fact, yeah, I don't know how much cash Ron has. I know he's down two players. He said, but
He's got 170,
I in an odd way, I could almost see him getting three linemen to try to maybe keep Scatter off the field as long as possible,
right?
right? Because again, he wants to have him for the playoffs. It doesn't really do him much good to this game. So
Yeah. Doesn't
some
help him
decisions.
for the touchdown lead though if
No, it doesn't. If he's not playing,
yeah. So I don't know. I don't really know if I know a good score for this one. I mean, the hard part is obviously
maybe.
Ed's come a long way from when he first started playing Blood Bowl. So
I still think it's going to be 2-1 Vermintide.
yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
a good guess. I could see that. And then we have it's a pack of Reptars, which is this team's not as scary as the Royal Family on paper,
Hmm.
right? Um, I think less guard, less mighty blow,
Right.
less
Yeah. No.
block.
But their
Um,
team value is much
their
higher.
team value is high, and I don't know necessarily if I understand why that. Oh, I think they have.
How many rerolls?
They have 4 rerolls. That's why. That's too many, in my opinion, for Lizardmen. But obviously, it's paying off for them
Yeah.
because he's in third. So it's more than I would take, but
But what's
uh,
that mean he's given up in terms of bribes here?
he's gonna give up a bunch.
Oh, a lot. Yeah.
So Alex sitting on 240, 11, 140 there. So he's gonna get all 3 bribes.
Yep.
He's gonna have like another 200K left to go.
Yep.
He could, if he wanted to, take, he could take Fungus, he could take Bomber, Dribble Snot, he could take Hack Flim, using some of his cash. Um, I don't know if he can afford Varog. Varog's 280, so maybe with his cash he could.
Hmm.
Morg, maybe if he spent all his money.
Yeah.
You
If
know
he
what I
didn't
mean?
take very many bribes, like maybe one bribe and then the rest for Morg, I think, with the inducement cash.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if he took. Well, I think you could take all 3 bribes because they're 50K apiece
Okay, so that's
for them.
150.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
150, and I think he gets another. So that put him at 1300, right? So then he gets another 100. Oops. He gets another 100. So that's
345.
345.
So
I don't think
he'd
that's
have to take
enough.
two bribes instead of three, and he could bring Morg.
Yeah. Yeah. If he was willing to
Yeah.
take 2 bribes, he could take Morg and try and decimate somebody's team.
This is one where I want to root against Alex just because Alex is really good and he's been there, done that. But at the same time, after playing goblins
Goblins, you won't.
in the big lick and getting indoctrinated brutally to how they play, I have to give him full credit for being in a playoff spot playing goblins. So
Playing goblins, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not an easy team. I mean, he's had a lot of deaths.
and he'd be
Uh,
scary for anybody that he faces, even Bob. Because with those secret weapons and stuff, even if you don't win that game, you can really hurt somebody for their next playoff game.
well, and
So
I think that's the best part about goblins, or the thing that makes them the most fun, is that they either kill everybody or they die everybody themselves. There's
yep,
no like in between where it's a close game.
that's exactly what I saw.
It's either like you obliterate your person because you get so ahead in injuries, or you get
Yep.
obliterated. And it's really high highs and really low lows. That's
Yep,
kind of
and
how it
that's
goes.
exactly the way Big Lake went.
Yeah, that's right. So that's kind of how it's really hard to build a league team like that. Never played goblins in a league, but I played Underworld, and
Mm,
they're
similar,
half
yeah.
Skaven, half goblins. and it's really hard to skill them up because when you get beat up one game, you don't have those secret weapons. You don't have two big guys.
Right.
It's almost like harder. And in tournaments, they rely really heavily on being able to induce star players,
Hmm.
and they don't get that in league very
Right.
often because they don't get, they're bringing half a Skaven team, so they're not getting a bunch of bribes and
Gotcha.
all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff. I mean, their team values matching everybody else's, but you're still goblins,
Yeah.
you know. So this match right here is interesting. I don't know
What
if the
happens if they tie? Will that guarantee him a playoff spot? I don't think so. I think he needs to
no,
win.
no, no. I mean, they're tied right now.
Yeah, he has tiebreaker because of the
He
win, but
has to win to have a shot, where because
what's interesting the way this one played out, and I just realized for Group B, unlike Group A, w- every one of the top six teams is playing each other. So,
oh yeah,
one's playing five, and two's playing six, and so forth. So, if all three bottom level teams have good games against the top level, then you could see something like the Reptars being dropped out,
yeah,
and one of those two of those 4, 5, or 6 uh,
that's right.
taking
Yeah,
over.
if somehow Alex pulled out a 5 point win, Rachel got a 5 point win,
Hmm.
then the Reptars are out at
Yep.
that point. They would be out of the
Yep.
playoffs, going in, and that would be interesting. And even if I don't know, did the Corn Dogs and the
I
Reptars
think the
play?
Corn Dogs lost to the Reptars, but we'd have to check it.
I think that's right. I think I
Yeah.
remember that. And you
So
probably could just go
so
to the
I
Corn
think that
Dogs and look. Yeah, they lost 2-0. So
yeah.
there's no way for the Corn Dogs to make it and the Reptars not, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yep. Yep.
But there is a way for the Corn Dogs to make it and the Crash and the Hibernators not,
Yep.
and vice versa. So that's an interesting. I mean, I just think it's cool that all of those teams have a shot. And alternatively, I guess
In a really weird way, if one,
if
2, and 3 won,
yeah,
and then 7 wins with a 5 point, then he could be in.
he could be in. Yeah, that's always interesting. I mean, it's interesting that all the way down to really the last round,
Hmm.
it's not decided yet. Whereas I
Right.
remember in the past, we wouldn't do bonus points, so it was pretty clear 3 wins, 1 win, zero, or two
Yeah.
one zero that you were out or in based on it really you had to win more.
Yep.
You couldn't just win big a few times.
Yeah, and I kind of like this because those 5 point games, especially if you end up like strength of schedule, you might start the year off playing the really good teams, and so yeah, you don't come out as flawless as you'd like, but you can make it up down the stretch
Yep.
if you play well.
I
So
think the 5 points help balance out strength of division a little
hmm.
bit.
Yeah.
The fact that we had a lot. I think we in our division had a lot more experienced coaches
Hmm.
present from past years. Made it so that I felt like more than half of my matchups were difficult matchups
Right.
against at least a coach that I knew was competent enough to beat me.
Yep.
Whereas obviously someone who's it's their first season or something like that, it doesn't mean you can't lose, but those odds are probably
Right.
much smaller at that point.
Exactly.
Um, and so it's just interesting. And so I
So,
guess these last couple matchups here, you
so
know, I kind of feel like this one's going to be a draw. I don't feel
hmm,
like anybody will win.
I could see that.
I think it's going to be maybe 1-1, maybe 2-2, something like
Yeah.
that. But I do think it's going to be a draw here. I think that if it's a 2-2, then it's probably something where, Alex pulls out a throw teammate at the end of the game and ties it or
Right.
something like that. Or if it's 1-1, it's probably both of them score. Alex fails a throw teammate and that's the end of the game or something. Is probably my guess there. And then we have the Shadow Goats against the Rooney Rat Pack. Really just a fun game. Doesn't have any playoff implications. Um, the Shadow Goats have had a really hard time skilling people up, and that's
Hmm.
because Blood Bowl is kind of one of those games where if you're not winning and you're getting beat a lot, it is hard to get star player points. And then
Yep.
if you see a star player points, he got them scattered all over the place. They're
Right.
not on a couple guys. He's got enough points that his team would be further along. I mean, he's got Billy the
Yeah.
Kid who could pick a primary if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. His his biggest issue there is he's got plenty of casualties scattered about, and he's done well in the MVPs. He just doesn't have a lot of touchdowns. One touchdown, right? And that's 3-star player points each time.
Yeah.
And had he scored more, some of his guys would have certainly had some more skills.
Yep. And he's 1165 against 1515.
So yeah,
He's
he's
going to get to bring Morgan Thorpe or something
exactly.
like that for nothing. I mean, not
Yep.
even have to bring it, and that would be fun to see. I like seeing
Oh,
Morgan
look at
Thorpe
this guy.
take the
What
field.
I hadn't seen him before. What is that mess? Dump off tentacles, accurate claws, strip ball.
All randoms. So he's got tentacles.
I don't know whether to be afraid of that thrower or
Claws and strip ball aren't bad together.
oh
And then, of
no,
course,
and
if you have dump
tentacles.
off and accurate, then if you try and blitz him,
I mean, I
he's going
don't
to get to
is
throw it to somebody
yeah.
else on a 2+.
Yeah, I mean he's not someone you want to get close to. Let's put it that way.
Right. And if you try and blitz him, odds are he's just going to pass it to somebody else. So you need to mark all his potential receivers
Yep.
so that they have a lesser chance to catch it. But he's probably going to just throw the ball away.
Yep.
Um, and he's had 8 completions. I think he leads the league,
I
or
think
he's
so.
second or
I
so
think
in
so.
completions, which we can look at those. Um, but that's kind of where they're at. I mean, just kind of all over the place for where this team really ended up. Strip ball, long legs, gutter runner. I think everybody went random crazy when they
hmm
realized it
They
was
weren't
the
gonna
end of
make
the
the playoffs.
season.
Well, you know what? That sprint and jump up is not bad though on that one gutter runner.
Right. No, that is pretty good. I think this one's probably just going to be 2-0 with the Rat Pack beating
Yeah,
the
and I don't
goats.
and honestly I don't think it's anything against the Shadow Ghost. I mean, I'm agree if he brings Morg or something, maybe he gets some interesting dice.
Casualties or
Yeah,
something.
but it's just the speed. I think the speed of the Skaven will be the
Yep.
one.
And then we have the Mauler Gas against the Rough Riders. I swear this game happened before, but I guess not.
So,
The Mauler Gas have skilled up pretty well,
uh
really. I mean, a
yeah,
number of blodging ghouls. We got a blodge tackle. I mean, a block tackle white. A wrestle zombie's kind of weird. Kick zombie's really useful.
well,
Got a
those are
sure hand
randoms,
strip
I'm
ball.
sure.
Kind of weird. Is that a random? That's got to be a random. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. And then guard armbar. It's kind of
and pile
funny.
driver.
Guard pile driver.
Yeah, a pile driver on a mummy. Oh well.
Yeah.
Um,
I probably wouldn't be taking advantage of pile driver very
no.
often, but at least it's just a 10K uh, hit, I guess. So 1345, the Rough Riders are rocking 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 dudes only. Interesting werewolf here with safe pair of hands and shadowing. Not quite LaClaw's level.
No. Well,
Um,
he I think he came over with safe pair of hands
he
from the
did.
D
He
League.
got, yeah,
Shadowing is interesting because of speed 8. He will keep up with someone if that's what you want to do.
yeah.
Um, I'll tell you that I think that I have played both these teams before because I played Shambling a little bit before I played Necromantic, and I just think that the edge here. Oh, you're naming somebody now. Molars. Should I think that on paper Necromantic should have the edge because they're just faster um, with the wraiths and the werewolves. Uh, and I don't remember how many ghouls the other player had. I don't know if he had. I don't think he had 4 ghouls on the other team. So he's got 2 ghouls, 2 werewolves, and he's fully positioned out, right? So
Yeah.
he's got a lot of speed. He can stay away from those mummies. I would have to think the edge is probably on the necromantic card, unless the other guy's got 4 ghouls. But even then,
He's got 3, I
he's got
think.
3. But
Yeah,
even then, he's taken someone that he really doesn't want hitting and making him hit. So
that's right.
I don't know. What do you think?
You know, what's the last couple of matches been like? I mean, this team hasn't played super well. Um, Jake's team has had a lot closer games, usually
hmm
when losing by one or so.
hmm
So I'm going to say that this one is going to be 2-1 with the Mahler gas winning this one here.
Yep.
But I do think that they'll come out ahead. I think they're the
Yeah.
better team anyway,
Yeah.
on paper at least.
I think if those mummies knock down those golems, if they take one of them out or both of them, then yeah, it's inevitable.
Yep. And that's kind of it for our standings, and we'll just kind of look at honors real quick. I know you've been here a while, and
Yeah,
I
I
appreciate
apologize.
that. Um,
You're probably ready for me to shut up at this point, but
no, no, I think this is fun. Um, so looking at team stuff right now, Bob's team is, the Rat Pack. There's a handful of teams around 14 to 1500. Nobody's at the 1750 cap. Everybody was somehow afraid that we would hit, and
right,
I had no thought that anyone would,
no,
because you think about it, with skills only being 10 or 20K,
right. And we've had a lot of casualties this
you're
season.
not getting stat upgrades, right? Stat
Yep,
upgrades were a huge team value bloat. You get a strength, and all of a sudden it's 50,000 and
right.
50,000. If you have two or three of those, yeah, you could get pretty high team value at a time. But now with just skills, it's so hard to skill up or
Yep.
to get your team value up. Um, Bob is the only person with seven dedicated fans right now. Handful of people with six, including yourself, Ron, and Ed. And then, as far as most experienced right now, your team has scored, or has the most star player
Hmm.
points spread across them. Hashut's chosen, Vermintide, a little over 110 or near 110,
Yep.
and then the Grudge Bears and Hibernators closer to
And
100
as you mentioned earlier, a shout out to Mark really on that because the other four teams were
are
bringing
return
players.
teams.
Yeah, we're bringing teams and players from previous seasons. So
Yeah, yeah. Mark's almost accrued as much star player points as teams that have had. I don't remember how long
two
your
seasons,
season was. 6 games,
6 games.
so
Yep.
six more games to get those
Yep.
points.
Well,
Almost double the season.
and for myself and Ron, that included playoffs.
Right. Yeah. And
Yep.
so, obviously Mark's accrued a lot of star
Yes.
player points. Most scorer right now, there's, three teams here near the top, which we have the Vermintide has scored 15 touchdowns. The Grudge Bears and the Mash have both scored 13. And then the Stunners and myself here at 11. Best defense, you've only allowed two touchdowns. Your first place right there. Best
Yeah.
defense. Me and the Stunners both have allowed three. And then most beast,
Yeah.
this is
Look at
most
that.
casualties. The Grudge Bearers
17.
will have about 27 after the next week.
Thanks.
Uh,
You're probably not wrong.
um, but people are around 15 to 17. No one's like super far ahead or any. Like it's pretty close.
No, but the thing about that is when you look at it, like especially for the Grudge Bears, he had to build that through, good positioning, good dice rolling, and his skills because he's not doesn't have claws. He didn't start off with Mighty Blow everywhere and everything, right? So compared to some of the other teams, he really had to work that up. So that's pretty impressive.
Yep. Most injured, still Z right
What's the
there.
name of that award at the end of the season?
Which one? The
Most injured.
most injured? I don't know. We might have to come up with one. The punching bag award.
Yeah, yeah. I think Z needs a trophy for that.
The punching bag. Then we have most deadly. This is the people that have killed the most players. So there's two teams in the other division, um, and one in ours that have each called three. The It's a Pack of Reptars, the Rat Pack, and the Royal Family all have three apiece. Mike's the only guy putting in his dirty plays, so that didn't even count. I put that in because Mark thought it would be funny, not even because I cared. Um, I got sent off on a kickoff event where we got officious ref,
Oh, did you? Okay,
and
so
that
you
was when
you
I
put it
only
in.
had four dudes on the field, and
Oh,
I was kicking off to him, and the ref was like, yeah, there's too many on the field. Just, you're
so
out of here, bud.
so so that still wouldn't have counted even if you had three and lost one. You still would have had to play that drive because that doesn't actually end the game
And
because you
you don't
started the
have
drive with
to
three, right?
necessarily end even when you have less than three. You just can concede with no penalty.
Oh, okay,
You
I
still
got you.
lose the game, and that's the thing is I didn't want to concede. I
Yeah,
would play with one guy because we were tied. I
right.
wouldn't want to
Yeah.
lose.
Yep.
And then most completions, both the Rat Pack and the Strikers each have nine apiece. Everybody else is about half that or a little more. So that's the team standings. Now this is the Mario Laclaus show. So most valued, the Patrick Mahomes, we're sitting at 235. Nanook passed
Yeah.
Thrackbull for the first time, so he's earned 200. First time I've seen that.
Those guys have big games. They could pass me.
Yeah, I mean he's due for a secondary pretty soon, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
he's going to get another 40.
Yeah.
So he'll get up to 230 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be real close to
Yeah.
235.
Now this is this season for the star player points, right?
Huh?
The for this is this
This is
season.
this season. So
Yeah.
he's gotten 34. Scatter's gotten 30. Seraph's 30. Thrackbull 25. and then the Grudge Bears runner Carrig Warsmith has gotten 24. So that is this season's
Hmm.
star player points. Um, Most scorer is, right now it's leading by LaClaus with 9 for best offensive. Scatter's got 8, Thrackbull 7. But if Thrackbull punches in 3, he could pass you right there against the
Yeah, yeah. I don't think Lacrosse is getting anything against Mark, so I think I'm worried about Scatter and Thrackbull.
yeah. They both might be able to pull out a big one there. And then
Look, Mark has two.
Mark's got 2 runners with 6 apiece, so he would have
Jeez.
12 if he was a little more selfish with one of them. Um, you know, Thorgrim Trollbane with the Grudge Bears 7.
Hmm.
Everybody else is sitting at 4, so he's got a pretty good
Yep.
lead there. Most injured, a couple of the Silver Strikers have been injured 4 out of 6 games
Oh, yeah.
where they actually suffered injuries.
That
That's
hurts.
pretty bad. And then we have Nanook leading most MVP with Brick and Seraph and I don't know, Falcault,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, all with 3 MVPs apiece.
I call that the I need you to skill up award.
Yeah, that's what it is. I pick you every time. And then most completions is Vincent right now with the Imperial Strike or the Silver Strikers, the Imperial Thrower,
Yeah.
leading that there. Nobody in the entire league has a single interception yet, which I'm not surprised by, really. I mean, I guess there's been 30 or so passes, but I don't think anybody's taken passes much that could be deflected.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen much of those passes, but the passes that I have seen like completed against me have been, backfield kind of passes, usually towards the end of the game or something.
Yep,
Um, so no, it's definitely gonna be interesting.
yep. Well, I guess that's kind of it for this round update. Um, Thank you, Dave.
Hey,
Appreciate you coming,
pleasure.
man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And so, I guess to remind everybody, Dave's going to do kind of a best of the rest.
Yep.
When the playoffs are ongoing, we're looking at the playoffs taking place mostly through May. And then, if possible, we'll try and get the championship to be at the cookout if it falls on near that
Hmm.
time,
That'd be cool.
and everybody can just chill and eat burgers and drink whatever you want to drink and watch a couple people play some Blood Bowl and cheer on whoever that is.
We need to start a bracket for who people think are actually win the whole thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
see.
So once we have the top 4 in each division,
Yep.
we should have a bracket and we could have everybody throw in like $5 or something
Exactly.
and have a first, second, third or
Yep.
something like that and divvy
Exactly.
the money up. I think that would be fun.
Yep.
Um, and so Uh, just kind of a reminder of kind of how the playoffs work in case people are unclear. It's top 4 from each division and that's based on points. If there's a tie, it'll go based on head to head, how those head to head matchups went. Then it is win plus draw percentage. So that's this here. Then it goes to net touchdowns, then net casualties. So those are the
Gotcha.
tiebreakers, kind of in that order. If anybody
And
has
and are you going to be doing like home field based on seating, or is it
Yeah, I
how's that
think
going to work?
that's probably the plan. I mean, the stadium thing didn't really work out the way that I think anyone thought it would.
Well, I will
Um,
admit I think I forgot at least 3 times.
Really, to
Yeah.
roll stadium.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remembered. I think actually James reminded us to do it one time when me and Mark were playing because we
Yeah.
forgot. Which it ended up being either it was a rough and rowdy stadium where we each got a bribe, which was terrible because then when I was down players, he was fouling me, and I
Nice. Yep.
didn't have players to foul back because I couldn't afford to lose any,
Right.
even with a
Even with a
bribe.
bribe, yeah.
And so it was kind of one of those. Only was bad for
Well,
me.
the one that I got twice was, but two different ways, was where you couldn't surf. The
Oh
first
yeah.
one was the no injury, where the crowd just puts you back, and the other one was walls, tall
Oh,
walls.
I got
So
you. Yep.
yeah,
I've gotten the luxury stadium a couple times
that
where everybody gets extra money to pick inducements.
oh, that's nice.
And it's like you roll 2d6 and you get that times 10,000 extra gold in inducements. And so I was able to afford a wizard one time because of that, which was nice. And then I forgot to use it the whole match, so it didn't really matter.
Figures.
Didn't have an outcome, but yeah. And so we'll do the playoffs. The top 4 will be playing each other, 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3 in each division, and then that will have a division championship out of A and B, and then the winner of Group A will face the winner of Group B in the Star City Blood Bowl League Championship. Like I said, which will hopefully be around the cookout,
Hmm.
probably late May, early June. We'll try and get that scheduled up. So, anyways, everybody have a good last week of the season. Thank you for everybody for playing and sticking it out. And thanks again, Dave,
My
for coming.
pleasure.
All
A lot of
right.
fun. Thanks.